Okay, so we see all these arrows, so we know it's going to be something pretty interesting here. And what those arrows represent are, of course, references. So rather than using the word romance film 100 times, well, 100 times, rather than using the word romance film even 3 times, what we want to do is reference to it. Now, this is going to help us with our score in CC, so in coherence and cohesion. And with this one, so remember we have the lexical resource that the person used, and it's fantastic. Because, of course, the person cycled through those words as we saw before, and that's exactly what you're going to do in the exam simulation that you're going to do at the end of these videos. And in terms of the feedback that we give you on your exam simulation, if you do this, your feedback is going to be great. If you don't do it, of course, we're going to make sure that you are aware that you didn't do this, and it certainly affects your score. So let's see here. So we have romance film. Now, that, of course, is because the person couldn't think of another word for film. That's no problem at all. So in terms of topic number 1 here, ask for more information about the language of the movie. Well, let's look at the sentence first. Can you let me know if this romance film has been translated to English or if it is in Italian? That's the first sentence here. When we take a look at the grammar, so we have a question mark in there. A question mark is acceptable. Remember, we are only using 1 or 2 commas and a period or a question mark. This one doesn't have a comma, it didn't need a comma. So we are in a perfect position here in terms of grammar. This is, of course, a complex sentence as well, which is exactly what we need to do. Now, in terms of lexical resource, so romance film. Now, instead of saying, can you let me know if this romance film has been translated to English, or if this romance film, or if this film, or something like that is in Italian? Well, in terms of cohesion, it doesn't flow nicely because, of course, we're repeating a lot of the same items. Instead, we just replace this with it. Now, in the second sentence, we have, if it is in the original language, will there be subtitles on the screen? And again, the it is referring to the romance film. So your referencing has to be perfect as well. It's not that difficult to do, really, but we have to be aware that this is certainly something that's needed in your performance in the letter here. So in the second sentence as well, we have the language of this. So if it is in the original language, will there be subtitles on the screen? The original language is, of course, referring to Italian here. And just in terms of us looking at details, that's exactly what the author put into this, which is perfect. So remember that we want to use the same strategy as we saw with speaking, and we'll talk about this again later on, because we're focusing on lexical resource here, of course. But remember, use details. It really enriches the letter. Now, as we move on a little bit as well, this is an example of something where, yeah, we definitely have to talk about, we have to use that word movie or film. Use the paraphrase, of course, is what I'm saying, in this. So in the second paragraph, yes, the person certainly has to use the word movie or film, but he goes through the cycle. So this person uses motion picture, as we can see in the first sentence there. Also, will this motion picture be shown every night from September 5th to the 13th? Your website mentions that the movie, so cycling through, perfect. Starts at 7:30, ends at 10 o'clock, but is there an intermission? So we have the movie. Now, even using the is a reference because the reference is going back to this romance film. And in the third paragraph, again, we have to refer to the movie itself and the film. And you can see also that we have 2 important words at the beginning of the sentences. So in topic 2, topic 3, we have also, comma, finally, comma. These are cohesive devices. We'll talk about them later on as well, but again, they are incredibly important. But back to referencing. Why is this so important for us? Well, the solution is exactly here. When we are looking at the CC score, we need to, of course, make sure that the person is, as we can see in a band 6 on the bottom, band 6 on the bottom, the last bullet point says, may not always use referencing clearly or appropriately. and that is a very clear indicator of a 6. Well, if you use your referencing clearly and appropriately, perfect, because we are looking at a 7 at a minimum. And that, of course, goes with that progression throughout. If we're constantly repeating the same words throughout it, it hinders the progression of the sentence, of course, of the topic development as well. So in order to make sure that we are not at a 6, in order to show the examiner that we are very clearly a 7 at a minimum, well, we need to make sure our references are beautiful and perfect.